It's Wednesday, September 12th. I'm Scott.
I'm Rim.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight we review Super Spy by Matt Kindt. Let's do this. All right, so yesterday we didn't do a normal show. We did the special show.
Because Scott decided to go see some circuses.
No, it was
after his bread.
Well, that kind of circus, yeah, I guess.
But when have I ever used the word circus in any context other than bread and circuses?
When you're talking about trapezes and clowns.
When was the last time I talked about those things? Just
now. Anyway, I went to see the baseball. It was a pretty bad baseball. But I'm glad I went because the way it works is, first of all, the game, we weren't sure if it was going to rain out because it was pretty rainy.
Scott's complaining to me over the Gmail. Just, I don't want to show up if it's going to get rained out and my dad doesn't show up because then I'm stuck and I have to take a crap train home. But if it doesn't get rained out but I don't go, then I don't get to go to another game. But if I do go...
Yeah, so I'm glad I did go because it didn't rain out. In fact, pretty much as soon as the game started, it was close to starting, it stopped raining. And it didn't rain at all the whole game. And they played. And but they got killed. It was not pleasant. And we went home before the game was all the way... Well, we didn't go home... We went home before the official end of the game, but when we left, it was over. It was over.
I do, however, note that there's one instance where we were at a sporting event, you, me, and a few other of our friends, or in this case, I can't refer to them as friends, but maybe dumbasses. And the home team we were rooting for was down by a lot, and there was like a minute left of play. And it was obviously over. So everybody walks out. Yeah, screw this. They're not going to win. It's over. And if I
2 seconds left.
Correctly, with 2 seconds left.
They tied it up. And they won in overtime.
And
everyone was crazy for like 10 minutes.
I still have the ticket in my wallet.
I still have the ticket in my room.
But anyway.
And also, one time I went to a Mets game. It must have been like 99, I think. And it was like against the Phillies, and Kurt Schilling was pitching, and it was raining. And the game was freaking delayed for like an hour or two because of the rain. But then they eventually played. But it was getting so late that we went home. Plus, the Mets were losing. And then on the way home, we listened to the radio, and they came back.
See, it's weird because, I mean, you'd think, I want to see my team win. But... it's kind of like what happens in the Count of Monte Cristo, where if you go to see a sporting event and the team you're rooting for isn't just losing, but getting their asses handed to them, you're brought down to the lowest of the low, the most despair you can get out of a sporting event. And then if they turn it around and win it...
it's the best thing ever.
Because now it's not just from neutral to win, it's lose to win. That's an extra step. That's like double yelling.
It's all relative.
It is. But unrelated to that entirely, Emily and I finally got our own Etymotic 6i isolator earbuds.
Now you will not go deaf.
So, I wouldn't have anyway, because Master Keaton is actually very quiet and rarely even has background music.
Well, that's true. But at least now you can hear Master Keaton when there's crying babies or trains going by or subways.
It's usually a loud, indignant woman on a cell phone talking about something that happened to her recently that made her indignant.
Yep.
Or every morning, depending on it's, there's always at least one old man who took a peak train and tries to pay with his old man fare, and the conductor always explains in the same monotone, there's no such thing as an old man fare on the peak train. And the old man says, I've been riding this train for 20 years, you're not the boss of me. And the conductor says, pay me or I'm calling the police.
Well, today I
don't have to listen to that anymore.
Took the Connecticut train into the city because I was, in Connecticut after the game.
Oh, the Connecticut trains, the ones that have the overhead lines.
Yeah, but because the Connecticut people have a different train etiquette, so they were all talky, as opposed to the Hudson Line people, which are all quiet on the morning train, like they should be.
The Harlem line was actually kind of weird the few times I took that in, but...
Yeah, it's funny how the different train lines all have different etiquettes. Like the Connecticut people are all chatty, the upstate New York people are all quiet and, tired.
Yeah, the Hudson line, serious business.
It is serious business.
Though, granted, now that school started, a lot of people are taking that train for school, like in the Bronx on the train I take.
Mm-hmm.
And every day, there's two factions. Punk kids talking to each other about their Pokemons in business, and businessmen who are super pissed off at them for making noise.
Why don't those kids take the subway or the bus? Is cheaper.
Not depends. It's a lot faster to take the Metro North, and there's a city ticket thing where it's like $3.
Ah, there you go. All right. So how are those headphones?
They're really great.
Yeah.
Like I said, I didn't have to listen to any of that business.
I've been, when we do the show, we wear headphones so that we can hear ourselves talk. I don't know why we do that.
Well, we used to not. I always did because early in the days, we didn't have a compressor way back or anything. We just had our little mixer and I had my little things plugged into it and I thought I was using it all cool and I knew about audio and I always saw that, I wore the headphones like everyone does on TV or when you see someone in a recording studio and I'd hear myself talk and I'd hear Scott talk and I'd try to use that to make the audio levels good, but Scott, because he didn't have headphones on, couldn't react to things the way I did, so I always had to fiddle with his volume, and once I got him a pair of headphones, I didn't have to fiddle with his volume anymore.
Well, the thing is, the thing about wearing headphones when recording a podcast, I think it's actually essential, because even though I don't consciously listen in the headphones to try to hear things or anything like that, just having them on has this sort of subconscious effect on how I talk and how we do the show. And I think if we did the show without the headphones and then did the same show again with the headphones, you would notice a big difference.
Yeah, well, part of it is just you hear the relative, like if suddenly your voice sounds really loud in your ears, you know that, maybe I'm a little too close to the microphone.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm pulling a Dave Riley here.
The thing is, I would use my etymatics, but they don't have volume control on them, so that doesn't work.
The only volume control is up with me in the little mixer setup. And partly because we use a splitter, because it's a tiny little mixer, the volume is all the way up.
Yeah.
All the way up.
So I had these cheap, like $15, $20 Radio Shack things that had separate volume for left and right, and they haven't been working, so...
Well, that's kind of crappy anyway.
Yeah, and now I'm using these free headphones we got with the Marantz recorder thing, and they also suck, but at least they work, because the Radio Shack ones were broken for the longest time, and... It's kind of weird to actually have working headphones now. I can hear things in my right ear. It's strange.
Yeah, but one thing I want to say, this comes up a lot in the forums, and it comes up every now and then in the show, but if you listen to iPods or anything, or podcasts, and I imagine you listen to podcasts, at least one or two, and you're ever in places where there's background noise, get a pair of Etymotic 6i isolators.
Or at least some sort of isolation or noise-canceling headphones that actually work.
Because otherwise, you're going to lose your hearing pretty quick.
Or you're not going to be able to hear what you're listening to because you don't want to turn the volume up because it'll hurt your hearing. So you force yourself to keep the volume low so you don't hurt your hearing. But now there's background noise and you can't hear what's going on because you're using the buds that came with your iPod or something.
Right, but enough of that. It is, in fact, anime night.
Oh man, it's animes.
And I don't know, there wasn't so much anime news I'm interested in. Maybe
well, because, the con season's over. Everyone made their big announcements. You're not going to get big announcements again for many months. Well, there's going to be a new anime season, and then we'll get a bunch more news.
Yeah, I mean, on one hand, the one news I saw that I thought was funny was that Tetsuo Hara is going to do a children's anime called Morino Senshi Bonolon. Tetsuo Hara, for those of you who are unaware, is the man who created Fist of the Something Something.
The Hokuto no something something?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So that's pretty crazy.
The problem is, all I can say about that is, ha ha ha, look, it's happening.
I know, it's always funny when someone does a work that you don't expect them to do, Like, if someone is known for making, if Takashi Miike made, Mr. Rogers, it's like...
Oh, I know exactly how that would go. It would start with Mr. Rogers pissing on the corpse of his dead mother.
Maybe.
And then the Yakuza would come, and there'd be a fight in the street.
But, it's like if
But
someone...
it'd be all, realistic, and a bunch of people would have died, and it'd be really sad.
Well, it was like when Jim Carrey, he's known for his crazy comedies, and then he tried to make a non-crazy comedy, and people were like, what? And then it was actually kind of okay and good, some of it.
Yeah, well, when I saw Eternal Sunshine, all I could think is, God damn, why didn't he tell us he was an actor before?
Oh, and I didn't even like that one that much. I think it was overrated. I mean, it wasn't bad, but I think it was overrated. I'm talking Truman Show and stuff.
It was overrated compared to the hype, but as a movie, it was badass.
It wasn't badass. It was good.
I'd call it badass.
I don't think it was badass.
It's better than Time Cop.
That's for sure. It's not hard to be better than Time Cop. But yeah, I really think it's always interesting when someone who is known for making, art in a particular style or genre breaks from that and tries to do something else. And that's really when you can tell if they actually have artistic talent or not, or if they're just a one-trick pony who has, perfected one thing.
Well, we've seen that in sports when someone we might all remember tried to play a different sport than he was used to.
Yeah, think about it's really hard in sports. I mean, pretty much 2 people ever that I know of have successfully played 2 sports well, and that's Bo Jackson and what's his name?
Hey,
I just had his name, Deion Sanders.
I play both air hockey and Counter-Strike very well.
I'm talking about professional sports. But pretty much Bo Jackson and Deion Sanders are it. That's like the end of the story. No one else.
Hey, don't because in terms of air hockey, now that we know exactly how
I'm not arguing whether or not it's a sport or...
Oh, no. I'm saying that in terms of air hockey, I think that if we own an air hockey table, within a year, we could be in the professional air hockey.
I'm talking. Yeah, I'm not. But that's not a professional sport. I mean, I guess yes, it's a professional sport, but it's not one of the professional sports. Period. It's not.
Well, considering even the big tournaments look like they rent out the Holiday Inn.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
But anyway, I got some news here, and
I thought that was your news.
No, I just wanted to bring that up.
All right.
This news, I'm just gonna let's see if we can follow this. I'm gonna read partly from Anime News Network because I don't want to try to summarize. this for
reading
you.
Anime News Network, so awesome.
Oh yes, so awesome. So a while ago, there was a press release announcing that ADV, which owned a part of Geeknights Entertainment's USA
Is it
distribution.
Geeknights or Genion?
I don't know. I've heard both from people in the industry and out of the industry.
It's Pioneer.
Yeah, Pioneer LDC.
And it's also Physical Plant and Capstone.
And it's the Nintendo Revolution.
That's
and
right.
the Phoenix web browser.
That's right.
So I'm just gonna read straight up here. The Geeknights Anime Production
Wait, did
Company.
it actually say da-da-da?
Yes.
Awesome.
Had started business as Pioneer's LDC Laserdisc subsidiary before Pioneer sold it to Dentsu in July of 2003.
Is it really? How do you spell Dentsu?
Dentsu. It's not
Okay.
Densetsu, which you were probably thinking.
Yeah, maybe.
You know what? I read
Perhaps
it.
were they Saiken before it?
Yeah, no bungus ambition. Right. So the Mitsubishi conglomerate's D-Right subsidiary then entered a joint venture with Dentsu to acquire a 34% equity stake in Geeknights Entertainment in June of 2006. With Mitsubishi's divestment, Geeknights is now a wholly owned subsidiary of Dentsu again. It goes on with there's another percentage and a couple more company names like Sojitz.
Wait, let me
and
translate.
Clockworks, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of Sojitz.
I think I can translate this. You ready? I can translate it into 2 sentences.
Oh, can you now?
Yep. Number 1, Japanese business is complicated.
More
complicated than American business.
It's no more complicated than the car industry.
Perhaps. Here's sentence number 2. You ready? Geeknights not doing so well.
See, maybe that wouldn't have been the case. You could have said, oh, it was just a business gobbledygook. But as part of this merger, Geeknights did lay off like 20% of its workforce. So like 5 guys.
Yeah. Really, it's ADV is sort of conglomerating a lot of the anime industry into itself. And, it's pretty much like ADV and Funimation are going big. And Media Blasters kind of...
It's weird, but... It seems like back when I was at RIT in the early days, when I was in high school, who put out an anime and who made an anime company-wise mattered a lot to me because I saw trends. Like, it seemed like anything that said Bandai or Pioneer was good. But nowadays, for a long time now, I've really been ignoring that, and I care a lot more about who directed the anime.
That's what you get when you learn stuff.
Yeah.
Plus, it doesn't, but ADV is still known for doing all the bouncy booby animes, and, it's... Yeah. Also, the manga companies like Viz, and it's pretty much the Viz Funimation combination is rocking everyone's boat because they have all the big licenses and they have the big partnerships with the Japanese companies, and it's really tough to beat the Shonen Jumps. I mean, yeah.
Though what I'm curious about, Dave Riley of Fast Karate for the Gentleman has been called a man with a sexy voice many times in the past. And I remember at one point on their show, someone said that he could read pretty much anything, and it would sound sexy. So my challenge to him, I'm throwing the glove. I want you to read this on your show in a sexy voice.
The business talk?
This whole business talk gobbledygook. I want to hear it.
That's all you. I really don't care.
I want to hear it. Well, think about it. I'm fundamentally opposed to the idea of playing, podcast promos or podcast networks or anything like that, but... I kind of like Dave and Joel, and that's the only way I can promote them without actually promoting them, is bring them up in a tangential kind of way.
All right. Can I do a news now?
I guess.
So Digital Manga Publishing, who is a manga publisher in the U.S., and they publish a few things that are cool. Like they publish those robot anthologies and some stuff like that, right? They have they licensed a bunch more manga, right? And in the agreement for the licenses for these manga, they have agreed with the Japanese publishers to put the logos of the Japanese publishers on the manga prominently.
This is a good thing.
This is really strange too, because I mean, like you look at something like Viz, right? And they put the Viz logo all big, and they put the Shonen Jump thing on there too, but that's because that's actually a brand they use in the U.S. But they don't put like Shueisha on there, or no one puts like Kadokawa or anything on their animes or anything like that. It's the Japanese companies, the publishers over there are sort of kept a secret from us, and only like the uber fans know what they are. And I think that if more Japanese companies force the American companies to put the Japanese publisher logos on their manga, people will start to see, like a Tokyo Pop that has one logo and then a digital manga publishing book that has the same logo on it. And it's like people will begin to realize, and then they'll start to buy, like if I see the big Shonen Spirit logo on books over here, I'm like, aha, I know I want that book. And then
we do that now. We go to like Kinokuniya, and you just tell by the logo, I want that wall.
Yeah.
I want that wall desperately to be in English.
That's one thing that actually American comics and Japanese comics sort of have in common, is that the publisher, or at least the imprint, the label on the book that says who made it, sort of tells you something about what the book's going to be. If something says Shonen Jump, you can be pretty sure it contains a story about kids, or at least younger people, with some sort of magical or supernatural powers, usually with some sort of fighting, in maybe not the physical sense, but some sort of fighting. Whether it's Death Note or One Piece or Naruto. And you can tell if something says, Vertigo on it in the US, that it's going to be some sort of serious, adult, possibly gory sort of drama, like an HBO television series in comic form. So nowadays, because we have in the manga in the US, like Tokyo Pop and Viz and whoever, they just license as much manga as they can, and they put their label on all of it. Just because something says Viz doesn't mean you're going to like it. Just because something says Tokyo Pop, that tells you nothing about the manga itself. And while I sort of, on the one hand, I'm sort of against the genre publisher link up, it is kind of useful from a purchasing perspective and being able to tell what you might also like. And you might miss out on some things, and you also might, get some things you don't want. So if we get the Japanese labeling, which is sort of tied to genre in a way, then it'll be easier for Americans who pay attention to it to purchase manga they want and avoid manga they don't want. Because knowing something is published by Tokyo Pop tells you nothing.
Things of the day. So this probably would have been better yesterday, but Scott was at the baseball game and we put up a special, and I guess it's
didn't
animated.
Come out till today, so you couldn't have done it yesterday.
Yeah, but I could have done it yesterday by traveling back in time, or by doing it next Tuesday.
All right.
But you know how Team Fortress 2, the game that I've waited for about a decade, is coming out.
The game we're going to play on Monday that I already preloaded on my computer just now that I could activate if I just knew some bits.
Game that's coming. Well, they've been doing a marketing campaign where they've been releasing one by one videos entitled Meet the, and then the name of one of the classes from the game. It started with...
So if it was World of Warcraft, it would be like Meet the Paladin, Meet the Knight, Meet the Wizard.
And the first one is still the best one. Meet the Heavy.
Yeah.
I am Heavy Weapons Guy.
Wait, can you name all the classes without looking?
Honestly, I can name them all in Weapons Factory, but they're almost the same. There's Heavy Weapons Guy, there's Marine, whatever.
It's Soldier.
But same class. It's the same in all those games.
Yep.
There's the Recon, whatever guy.
Scout.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's the Engineer, which is named the same thing to everything.
Yep.
The Arsonist / Pyro.
Pyro.
There's the Spy.
Yep.
The Sniper.
Yep.
And the Demolitions Man.
Yep.
Yep.
I think there might be the Medic.
Oh, yeah, the Medic, or the Nurse.
Yeah, it's the Medic.
Nurse.
There might be another one. I don't remember.
I actually played more Weapons Factory than I did any other Capture the Flag game ever.
Capture the Flag, I never really Tribes 2 most Capture the Flag.
Oh, you never played any like TFCs?
I was never big. Well,
TF?
when I played TFC, I mostly played the Hunted. I didn't really, which is the VIP mode.
TFC was the weakest of all the Team Fortresses.
Yeah, but the VIP mode was the strongest mode. So I never played the Capture the Flag.
But anyway, I digress there very much.
Plus, I was the best VIP. Oh, man, I always made it.
The third one of these is out. It is Meet the Engineer. And all I'd really like to say is that the best part of this video is when he pauses, waiting for his rockets to land. And then there's just this very kind of happy, contented smile as he hears them explode in the distance.
The only thing I'm going to say about this video is that it makes me sad that some 3D model can play the guitar better than me.
These things are worth watching even if you're not a video gamer or a PC gamer at all.
Well, it'll also make you buy the game, so you might not want to watch. Of course, the game, you can buy it now for $45 on Steam. Oh my god, is it like the best deal of the century?
Yeah, this is going to be probably one of the seminal works of PC gaming.
Yep, I have a feeling that Monday will take the day off.
Well, remember, if this game doesn't live up to what we're all making it out to be, I imagine
that's going to be like the greatest... There was just a thing online today, like the 10 flops.
It's too well.
It was like the 10 flops in gaming, and they were like, these are games that were hyped up, but then they flopped, and they were talking about Mario Sunshine and stuff
Deus
like that,
Ex.
right? And if this doesn't go if this game isn't amazing, it'll be the greatest video game flop ever. Like the next day, I usually hate it when something happens like a few days ago and people immediately start putting it on like top 10 lists, like, oh, it's the biggest flop ever, even though it just happened.
Well, like BioShock is already being lauded as one of the top 10 best games ever made.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. I would put it at the top 50 maybe, but if TF2 isn't perfect, that's the biggest flop ever.
I mean, it might even displace Daikatana as most infamous game ever.
Ooh, Daikatana, I think, just came out on...
just came out?
No, was it on GameTap or one of those services? You can get it now.
But it wasn't worth playing then. It's not worth playing now. It was terrible.
That's for sure.
Why did you do that to me?
All right, so I do my thing of the day?
I guess.
All right, so you know how people like to take the high-speed photographs? They get a camera. The camera takes a lot of pictures really fast. And then, you like shoot a bullet through a pane of glass, or you shoot an arrow through an apple, or you drop something in a bucket of water, and you can see like all the water or the glass moving around like in super slow motion. It's way cool, right? Well, this guy did something a little better than that. Not only did he have a ludicrously high-speed camera, right? But he had a dark room, and he had a flash, like an incredible flash. That would just be like super bright for like a second, like, an incredibly short amount of time.
It is comic night. I almost made a joke about the Flash just standing there in the room causing trouble.
And then he had a trigger set so that when there is noise, right, any audio will set off the camera to take a picture and set off the flash with the perfect timing to get exactly one high-speed photograph, right? And then he did a bunch of things in front of it, but the ones that are really cool is he took these ceramic figurines of, people, in stances or scenes doing various Asian martial arts. Like there's one where like a guy's getting ready to do a kick, and there's one where a guy is kicking another guy and the guy is blocking it. And there's another one with like this girl doing some Tai Chi, and there's another one with a girl doing Tai Chi, and whatever. And he took these ceramic figurines and he put them in front of the camera and he dropped them. So you get this picture like just as they hit the ground and they're shattered, but they're not like totally shattered yet. And it's like at the exact moment in time that it's awesome just looking at these pictures, man. They're pretty cool.
For some reason, I don't know why, I'm kind of reminded of that video we linked to as a thing of the day a while ago.
Yeah,
the macabre one.
Yeah, there are some other things that he took pictures of. I think they call this like at the moment of impact or something. But these are definitely, he gets the best effect with these because you see like this guy kicking and his leg is in like three pieces, but they're all still in the air kicking. But like all the stuff near the bottom of the sculpture is like completely shattered. So it looks like a really awesome scene from like a kung fu movie or something. It's like, and it's high resolution too.
Right. So it is anime manga, and while we don't do it often, comics night.
Oh my god. It's time to, like, get your sweater when you're getting ready to go to hell, because Rim read a comic. Oh, my God.
That clock never rings.
Ding.
Now, tonight we're going to talk about Super Spy by Matt Kindt.
Yes, it is published by Top Shelf. It is published this year.
Top Shelf is known for doing all those indie-style, kind of awesome comics. They're the people who are always at, like, every comic convention with the awesome indie kind of booth and the indie kind of stuff. And
Yep.
we generally like a lot of what they put out.
Yeah. This book is $20, but it wasn't $20 for me, but it'll be $20 for you.
Yeah, well, I have an opinion as to how much money it's actually worth.
Yeah. It's one self-contained comic that's broken up into like a whole bunch of smaller stories, but they all sort of go into one another. When we were at MoCA, Matt Kindt was actually there, and I'd heard of this book before going, but I decided not to buy it there because it would have cost $20, and I bought it later, with my pre-orders for much less money. Like $12 or $14, I don't remember. And they also had a limited edition hardcover at the MoCA Arts Festival, but
I don't think we need that.
I don't think we need the hardcover. I think the soft cover is just fine, and in fact better. So this book, Super Spy, it is about spying during the Second World War, and there are many characters who are all spies of some sort.
Sadly, I just read it, and I can't name a single one.
Yeah, I don't really...
There's Shay something, the shark.
There's one guy named Super Spy. Yeah. And I don't remember the names of any of the other ones.
Well, here's the real issue. The comic is set in World War II, and it's very much has the feel of a World War II, or actually more, it almost feels more like a Cold War era East Germany spy thing. Just the way the spying is like stereotypically of that ilk.
It's a lot. It's like the spying you see in old spy movies, you know, or in old like noir movies. That kind of spying is going
we're
on.
talking like the poison trap with the code book and the cyanide tooth.
Or like the two spies, but they don't know the other guy's a spy. Sort of Hitchcock in a way, but without the twist ending all the time.
Yeah, and a lot of double crossing and double agents and triple agents and quadruple agents and stuff going on and stuff going down and Germans and good guys and bad guys and all.
Mostly Germans.
This is the Germans.
The Germans.
But the story, there actually is a story here, and it's interesting that it is that way because when I know Scott gave this to me to read, and I'm reading it on the train, and I'm enjoying it, I'm digging it. I generally like stories like this.
You get all these little vignettes, and each one, you read one after the other, and in the front of the book, it has the table of contents, which is actually really well printed. It looks like a Moleskine, but it's not. It's pretty cool.
You got one of them there, moleskins?
Yeah, and it tells you the names of all the different chapters and what page they're on, but it also gives a DSR number for each chapter. And
like a dossier.
Yeah, like the dossier number. And the thing is, the chapters are printed in the book in the order that Matt Kindt wants you to read them in. So that's the order I did read them in. But if you look at the dossier number, you can figure out by arranging the stories by dossier number the chronological order. So you don't read the stories in chronological order. And I bet if you did read the stories in chronological order, it would be quite a different experience.
Yeah, of course it'd be tough because a lot of stories kind of branch and like one will end, like a scene will happen and then a story will keep going. But if you read another dossier later, that one starts right when that scene ended with one of the other characters in that scene going off and doing something else at the same time.
Yep. The other thing is that a lot of the stories sort of aren't directly like continuations. Like some of them happen way before everything else, and some of them happen way after everything else. So if you just read them in chronological order, some of them are just going to seem so out of place. So I do think you should read the order in which they are printed. But it is, I guess, cool. I kept like the first few chapters I read, I kept looking back to see what order they actually happened in and tried to keep it straight in my mind. And then after about 10 chapters, I gave up on that because it wasn't worth it.
But like I was going to say before all that, there's a problem with this book. And I guess because I just went into it reading, didn't read the back or the contents or anything. I just started reading it.
I read the front thing in the book, but that was it.
I got about a third of the way through thinking that it was just a bunch of totally unrelated vignettes about spies. And then one of them happened to end and then begin with like the same character from the previous one in another situation. And then I started flipping back through and I realized that all the characters from all the stories keep appearing in each other's stories and it's all this contiguous plot. But the way the art is, I didn't notice that for the longest time. And even after I knew about it, it was really hard to keep track of which character was which, and sometimes it was really hard to even know what was going on in a scene. Like, I see a character die, and then I see that character alive, but clearly after the fact, and, oh, wait, no, it's a different guy, because, I have to look at the mustache. He has a mustache that's a little tiny there, and I really couldn't tell who was who.
Yes, I knew earlier on in the book, like a chapter or two in, that I was like, hey, wait a minute. Like, I saw a guy who kind of looked like a guy I saw before. So I flipped back and forth, and I was like, is it the same guy? Is it the same guy? And I decided that it was, and I was right. But I wasn't, like, 100% confident, and it wasn't easy to recognize. So a lot of the time, like, I was enjoying the stories, and I actually enjoy the aesthetic style of the art. But a lot of the reading of the book was sort of hindered because I had to expend so much effort trying to say, is that guy? Is that guy, or is that a different guy? Did this happen before or after that? I spent so much time as if I was a spy, I guess, trying to make sense of all this code that I couldn't actually enjoy the contents fully. And even if I read it again, I would still have a hard time recognizing the characters so much. And it would sort of hinder the enjoyment.
The issue I definitely had, in that I could see now, wow, this is really complex and cool, and there's all these interactions, and this scene would probably mean a lot more to me if I remembered exactly which character this was and exactly why she's in this situation now. But maybe because the characters weren't distinctive enough and they didn't use a lot of proper names or anything in the story, but you really can't easily keep a thread of all the characters at all times, and you'll end up missing out on a lot of the subtler details. And frankly, don't worry about that, because once I stopped caring and just gave up and just kind of read it, and just, if I wasn't sure who a character was, I just didn't care and kept going, it was much more enjoyable.
Yeah, the only time it really mattered is when you get to the end. There's like these 6 chapters at the end called the End 1, the End 2, the End 3, the End 4, the End 5, the End 6. And that's sort of where like they wrap up all the different characters that have been continuing along. And as long as you recognize like 2 or 3 of the most easily recognizable ones, you'll be all right at the end. It'll be cool.
Yeah, even if you forget half the things they did in the middle of the story, as long as you know who they are by the end, it works.
It's
Even though my favorite character is the spy master, who we only really see at the end.
Yeah, it's sort of like a catch-22, this book, in a way, in that it's cool because it's such a complex, interwoven story of spies, getting tied up in each other and tied up in this other business and all this crazy stuff going on. And that's a way cool story that you want to experience. But because it's so complex, it's so hard to digest that the difficulty of having that story delivered to you and the complexity of it ruins the awesomeness of the complexity.
But if you recognize that fact, and you have to read this the same way I am playing Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, because you could care a lot about the exact details of what's going on and trying to figure it out. Just like you could care a lot about finding all the secret characters and doing all the, level everybody up to get all the classes business in Final Fantasy Tactics. If you don't care if you miss something and you just kind of go in expecting some fun, you'll have a lot of fun, and you won't miss as much as you might think you'll miss, and you won't care about the things that you did miss.
All right, so did you have any particularly favorite memorable stories in here?
See, I really liked just the aesthetic of how each story was in such a different style and was all these different takes on spying. I think my favorite one was early on, where it shows one spy and this other spy, and it keeps cutting back between 2 of them, kind of their inner monologues, going through the same motions but thinking different things.
The one guy who's like the
one guy, like, it starts out and one guy's getting
one.
up and he's like, spying is an exacting science. It is a precise planning, blah 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 blah. And then it cuts to the other guy and he's like, spying is an art. You have to just kind of wing it by the seat of your pants.
And one guy is sort of like the fast and loose, sort of more like, liberalish kind of guy. He's dressing like a bum. He's riding his bike all around town. And the other guy is like a clean-cut businessman kind of spy, doing the same routine every day, The other guy's like hiding in plain sight. The other guy's hiding, for real. I like that story. That was a good one.
Yeah, I mean, each individual story is really, really good. Another one I really liked is the one with the guy who's about to be executed for being a spy, and he asks for one last cigarette. I mean, it was a twist ending I saw coming, but
I didn't see that one coming, actually. It got me.
See, I saw it coming, but the thing is, it's one of those rare ones where you see it coming, and but you don't care that you know because you just want to see it actually happen. Like you're just waiting for the bomb to drop, even though you know it's been dropping the whole time.
My favorite one is the one, it's actually in a slightly different artistic style than the others. Like, it has this, like, there are a few that just have different styles to them, like, different way he colors them, and it's sort of like a black outline around the page. This guy, like, gets in a car accident, and somehow he gets stuck as, like, a spy, and, like, the resistance picks him up and forces him to do a job for them.
That one was super Hitchcock.
It was. And, like, they end up, like, drawing, like, this secret map on his head, and then
Spoilers!
Yeah. And then he grows his hair back so no one can see. And, like, he gets super injured. And, like, he loses an eye. And it's sort of like, wow. It's
Honestly,
one of those tragedies, you know, where someone's forced into a tough situation. They just deal with it. And they come out the other end, you know, and it's just like,
Honestly, I mean, I'd say it's not terribly realistic. You can't say that it's realistic.
No, this is not. I mean, some of it, I guess, could be realistic.
But at the same time,
there are some hints of, you know, things that really happened in history.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there's one part where, like, there's a guy who's a code breaker, and there's a bunch of shelves, and it says, like, Enigma on the shelves.
Well, I was thinking more of the guy who served in a unique... I don't want to ruin that one story in case someone doesn't see it coming. The guy who was a spy in World War I, and then he served in World War II in his own unique way. Yeah, because that was based on a real event, obviously. But while it's not realistic, it's at least kind of self-consistent in terms of what is possible and how spying works. It's kind of like that Cold War game we have, where it follows the rules of movie spying.
Yep.
However, there's one character that really kind of annoyed me. Shayla, whatever her name was, the shark.
Yeah, that was sort of... I couldn't understand, like, what her motivation was. She seems sort of inconsistent to me. Like, one scene she's doing this, another scene she's doing that, and I'm like, well, what are you really doing here? I don't get it.
I think the worst thing was that she was too badass for this story and for this world. It was kind of a, let's make this super strong, amazingly badass female spy, and it just totally didn't fit with everything else.
Yeah, it really didn't. Everyone else was a very down-to-earth sort of James Bond, like the books kind of spy, where, you know, you can get beat up and killed, and they died really easily, a lot of these people.
A lot of people die.
Just, you're dead. Yup, you got shot, you died. But except for her, she was like, you know, like some super actually a super spy.
Funny how the most badass character is the least interesting, least engaging, and the one I skipped a lot of her stuff because I just didn't care about it.
Yeah. Meanwhile, there's a guy actually named Super Spy, and early on in the book, he's a super spy, and you don't see him until you always, you know, like I knew he was going to show up again, and I learned how to recognize him because, you know, he was the guy they called Super Spy, and that's the name of the book.
I love what happens to him in his
What happens to him? I'm not going to spoil it. Is so terrific. Oh my god.
I mean, because one thing happens, and then in the end, another thing happens, and it's just...
Yeah, the guy, there's only like 2 or 3 chapters that have him in it, and it's just, I like, as small as his part was, you know, the book was named after him, like, or he was named, has the same name as the book. He was definitely pretty good right there.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. The style's good, but I think it really kind of hinders... It forces you to read the book just really fast and loose. And if you try to get any more detail than that, you're just going to not enjoy it.
Well, the alternative is you can read the book slowly and carefully, and it will be difficult, I think. I mean, we're pretty smart. We had a hard, at least without like taking notes or something.
Or at least just like really caring. It's just...
Or really paying attention and reading it very slowly.
Putting that effort in will make the book less enjoyable.
Yeah, it's like you could get... In order to get everything this book has out, you have to put a lot more in, and putting it in was not fun. Only the getting out is fun.
However, and I do think that despite how stylized and everything it was, I think you could adapt this into a pretty damn good movie.
Oh, you could make a pretty awesome...
Because
if it was a live-action movie or something, you'd see the same people and you would totally recognize them. And it would be awesome.
And it's kind of set up like storyboards almost. And you could totally make a movie about this that would kind of in the style of Sin City, I think. I just think something like that would be amazing. And I'd love to see someone do it.
Yeah, this is sort of like reading like a movie script in a way. Like it would be more like a Pulp Fiction in that you have all these small bits that...
Or like Sin City.
Yeah, kinda, yeah. Like either one of those, where you have a movie made of smaller movies, but the same characters show up again, and and they tie together into the bigger story.
Yeah, I mean, all I
like those kind of movies.
I'd take out the shark because I think
like
her
Snatch
character's
even.
just... Snatch.
Yeah.
We ever talked about Snatch?
I don't know.
on the show?
We've had to have mentioned it.
I know, but I don't think we've ever actually done a show on it.
Fat is the stone.
Fat is the stone. Right. So, I don't know.
Your gun says replica on the side of it.
Let's not get into that. But yeah, this book is good. I enjoyed it, but I'm going to be blunt. I don't think it was worth $20 because I read it in like a half hour.
Yeah, I don't think it's worth $20, but if you can get this book with some sort of, say, let's go look at the Amazon price.
Well, if one of your friends buys it and then you borrow it, or if a bunch of you pay for it and then just kind of pass it around or something, it's definitely worth borrowing, especially if you like spy stuff.
Oh, if you like spy stuff, you should probably just buy it.
Especially
if you're a spy fan, like a fanboy of spies.
If you like that noir-style femme fatale cyanide pill in the coffee kind of spying with knockout gas, this is so up your alley.
All right, on Amazon, it's only $14.
All right, it's worth $14.
Yeah, it's $14 ain't so bad, especially because, you can just sell it on Amazon after you buy it for like $12 used. So there you go.
Sadly, I don't have much more to say. I mean, I don't want to bring up any of the stories or the characters because it's kind of pointless.
Yep. There were some chapters in the book, actually, that had like a lot of text, and they weren't really so comic-y, and they sort of dragged a little bit because like they took longer to get through than some of the other chapters that had little to no text in them.
Yeah, I skipped a lot over Polly the Peregrine.
Oh, no, Polly the Peregrine is awesome.
I liked it. I liked the art, and I liked the style and everything. It just, the story itself, I mean, I read it. I just didn't really linger over it.
Polly the Peregrine was one of the good parts.
I didn't linger over it. I'm sorry.
You suck.
It wasn't as good as some of the other parts.
It was okay.
Thing is, I would probably read Polly.
Yeah, if there was a book, just Polly the Peregrine, I would totally read that.
It's kind of like Owly.
Kind of like Owly, but for kitties. Oh, Owly's also for kitties, but for
and for us.
For spy kitties. So yeah, Super Spy by Matt Kindt is not bad.
Not great, not stellar, not excellent, but
it's no Watchmen, but then again, it's no Underwear Pervert.
It's definitely, if you're a comic fan, worth reading. It's really all I can say about it.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard. I mean, if we review something that we don't love or hate or disagree on, it's kind of hard to say more than
Well, I think that's the thing is I really felt like we weren't doing enough reviews of things that weren't disagree on, love, or hate, And it doesn't seem like any other podcasters really seem to do them either because it's very hard to review something that's meh. I mean, what do you say? This book is average. You get some enjoyment out of it, but it's not going to like make you like fall over, in ecstasy. It's also not going to bore you to death. It's just a book. It's good. It's possibly worth your time, depending on how much time and how much money it costs. And I think the problem here is that reviewing something that's meh doesn't make your podcast so entertaining or interesting, unless you start going off on a tangent talking about things that are meh and reviewing them, like I am right now. But at the same time, I kind of want to give exposure to this because I think this does deserve some exposure.
Yeah.
And there are people out there who are going to love this book, and they probably never even heard of it until now. And I want to do a podcast on it, but the podcast can't be that entertaining because I don't love, hate, or disagree with this book.
Yeah. All I can say is that I wanted to get more exposure because I really want someone to option it and make a movie.
Oh, yeah. Please, if you are a movie maker, you should go to Matt Kindt and say, we would like to option your Super Spy for a movie.
I'll put it this way.
And he will probably go, yes, please. I would love to make money.
This is the kind of thing where if I had the kind of money to invest, and there were a project about this, I'd invest in it because I think it would succeed.
Oh, man, a movie like I would, it doesn't get me to go to the theater often, but if someone made a movie of this, I'd be in the theater. And that's saying a lot.
Yes, it is. Scott doesn't like going to... What was the last non-anime movie you saw in the theater?
In the theater?
Because the last anime movie... Well, the last movie
Didn't
was
we go to see the
Paprika?
Lewis Black, Robin Williams movie?
Oh, yeah. We went to see Man of the Year.
Yeah, I could have seen that on DVD and been just fine.
You know what? It was worth it just for the fact that no one in the theater knew what a succubus was except us.
I think it was worth it only because there was nothing doing that night, and we had nothing better to do, and like the timing was just so perfect that we happened to be eating at the restaurant right next to the movie theater, and we happened to get out of dinner, and the movie happened to be starting.
Yeah,
right
we're
then.
walking over, and we're like, I kind of want to see that movie. If it's starting in the next 2 minutes, let's go see it.
And it was starting in like 5 minutes.
So we're like, huh?
Yeah.
And even
if it
then,
was any less convenient, I wouldn't have gone.
Even then, we were like, you wanna? Screw it, let's do it.
I think before that, did we see episode 3?
Yeah, we did. I'm glad I did. I wish I hadn't seen episode 1 in the theater.
That's for sure. And I think about this. Episode 3 in the theater, I walked right in. It wasn't as good as episode 4, 5, 6, but it was worth it, you know.
Yeah, it was
episode 1, I waited in fucking line.
God, episode 1, we were there.
The day before.
Yep.
Ugh.
Granted, but meanwhile, Lord of the Rings, we were there for the opening showing and a crazy line of people.
That was worth it, though. That was worth it times 10.
That wasn't worth it. That was exceeded expectations.
Yeah. All right.
Let's
not get
tangent.
off topic too much. Super Spy, Matt Kindt, Top Shelf. You should also, you should look through the Top Shelf catalog because Top Shelf publishes a lot of awesome books. Some of them by Alan Moore, the guy who wrote Watchmen, and some of them not by Alan Moore. And many of those books are good. Not all, but many, and worth reading.
I guess the thing you should do is look at what they put out. Look at the cover art, maybe read a little bit about it. And if it's about a topic that's up your alley, or if the art is a style that you like, it's worth risking it and just buying it. Because on average, top shelf stuff is pretty top shelf.
And they generally publish comics that are not underwear perverts and are usually higher brow in some way or another.
Lowbrow, but I'm quite lowbrow.
I'm highbrow, but sometimes lowbrow.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geeknights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via Audio. Just click the link that says Send Me an Audio on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.